All right, let's get started. How the heck are you? My name is Michael Lydick, and I'm the co-founder of BackToTheFutureTrading.com. And today we're going to be talking about a signal that nobody wants you to hear about, especially banks and trading institutions. Yeah, Darren, actually, there's a case for Omnia to be made on the lunar cycle chart that I'd be happy to go over with you. No worries mentioning that. We are here to tell you about something unusual in the realm of trading. Most companies, most gurus, there's a girl now that I follow on YouTube, name is Tori, and Tori wants you to know that as a 20-something-year-old girl who spent countless hours under the tutelage of a mysterious uncle, an independently wealthy, inverifiably intelligent uncle, that you can make a crap ton of money. Sally, you can be just like Tori if only you draw trend lines and buy when the trend line breaks above and sell when the candle breaks below the trend lines. Larry, it's that easy. You've been doing it wrong. And she feels so excited about her method that she has a course. And she doesn't teach the course. People have paid her to be franchises. I mean, other students have volunteered to help her get the gospel of the trend line out to the community. This woman, this young woman, let's just take a moment of gratitude for her. There are so many people out there teaching so many things about how if you only do X, Y, Z, you're going to make $1 bazillion. And I've tried all of them. I've sat in almost every stupid, lame webinar and listened to every bloated guru, read all the books. And at the end of all of it, I said, there's got to be something that doesn't change, that's powerful, that's leading, that works in every market on all time frames. And that's where we ended up looking at time signals. I believe so strongly in them that I give out the times and directions before the webinar every week for the last 15 plus years. And when we do that, people come back and they buy it after seeing this webinar and they give us reviews. And somehow or another, we're still standing. And you love us. You really love us. And we're going to talk about this in a moment because today was a pretty awesome day. The reason it's not entirely obvious, this idea of predictive time signals, is because it's hard. It's a hard thing to learn to do from scratch. The good news is all of the hair that fell out of my head doesn't have to fall out of yours. And look at that noggin right there. It's like a cue ball with some peach fuzz glued to the top of it. Taryn, this is not the best thumbnail now that I think about it. It's like a kiwi that's been left in Clorox. So it's hard to figure out this. In fact, one of the first men who figured this out was interviewed by Richard Wyckoff in Ticker and Investment Digest. And Wyckoff writes about how Gann has come up with this idea of using predictive times in the market. And I love this quote because in essence, he goes, we submit what Gann's doing for you to read about. And we want you to remember that this proposition, this idea of predictive times, is not usually welcomed by the majority of traders. Well, why? Why don't people want to know about this? And here's what I love. For the reason that he stimulates thought and research. These activities, the majority of traders hate. I'm about to show you something that I know before I even begin that most of you will hate it. Despite the fact that it works, despite the fact that your contemporaries left good reviews for the most part, most people come into the website and leave sad because it's hard. It's hard to just believe it exists. And so we've set up this really neat experiment. The idea is relatively simple. There are times every day in every market on the time frames you trade, whether that be a 1 minute chart or a 1 hour chart or a daily chart. If you're trading options in AMD and NVIDIA, if you're trading puts and calls in SPY, if you're trading futures, NASDAQ, ES, CL, GC, crypto, all of those markets have a schedule, or as our British friends say, a schedule, which makes more sense with the SH, but they also say aluminium, and that's just too weird. The metric system was the hairy edge, and aluminium, just, it's too much. So there's that. We give out the times that we're expecting moves to occur on Tuesday for those of you taking our trial through the website. And then after Wednesday and Thursday, we get together to see, did they actually work or not? Did they actually work or not? Now, before we get into the ones for the intraday signals, I wanted to look at the forecast left over from last week's webinar. If you were here, you'll see that the signal we had last on the daily chart for the E-mini S&P was Wednesday, April 24th. I have one rule in this webinar. I don't want you to believe anything I say. I don't want you to believe anything I say because gurus lie, right? That's sort of the norm. And when we come back and look at last week's webinar, I actually go over the time signals for this week. It's recorded and documented from last week. And the webinar last week was on the 2nd, May 2nd, right here. And as of the 2nd, I was telling everyone, hey, Jim, we're going up until, on the daily chart, May 14th. So on the daily chart, if you go back and reference the webinar last week, you'll see I warned everyone the movements on the largest time frame are up. And we have this signal here. Over the last year of webinars, when we've done this over and over again, this is the net result of me telling you the week before what to expect. And so one of the preconditions of this webinar is, again, that you don't believe anything I tell you. You don't have to put your trust in another man or woman. Historically, those people elicit some type of they try to engender some type of uh, undeserved repute. They have a great marketing team, a wonderful webinar, highly polished things, and you're supposed to assume they're an expert and listen to every word out of their mouth. I tell you a week in advance what this market's going to do, where the stops and turns and bips and boops are, and they just happen. I'm not even telling you, I'm reading what a chart said that thousands of other customers have access to. What is this thing trying to communicate to us? What is it telling us? What is this wonderful chart attempting to say? More importantly, what were we expected to believe if the data was correct? The E-mini S&P 3-minute chart for today that was published on Tuesday resembled this. And a quick cursory review of the chart is a relatively simple yet infinitely unbelievable concept. All of the signals on the top of the histogram are times over the last several weeks where the E-mini S&P on a 3-minute chart has a behavior pattern. It historically, for one reason or another, more often than not, lately, tends to sell there. It is an established behavior pattern. I tell the story of a man I met in college. He's an architect or an architectural student. And he told me a story about a man who was a famous architect who would not put sidewalks in any of the college campuses he designed because he wanted to see what the students did naturally when they were walking from building to building. And so only after a year or so, when the grass had patterns in it or behavior patterns etched into the grass and the dirt was left behind, he would then go back and build the sidewalks. He let the students determine where the sidewalks would be based on their behavior patterns. That's all this chart is doing. This chart is reminding you that historically, lately, on Thursdays, 5:15, 6:45, 7:48, 8:33, 10:09, 10:51, 11:33, 12:39, and so on, were all historically buying pressure times. That's the only reason they're there. I didn't make them up. There's no black box algorithm. It's just pointing out what's happening. Now, there's a problem that many people run into at this part of the webinar. This is where I lose about 90% of people. I lose 90% of people over this concept of predestination. That everything that's happening is sort of happening following a plan. So it's this idea that there's an overarching force involved, right? That somehow the institutions, whoever's in charge of the financial markets this morning, before the unemployment report came out, which wasn't very good. Did any of you understand that this morning's report wasn't very good? And yet, there's this idea that somehow there was a plan to drive prices higher. This idea of predestination really messes with people's noodles because they've been taught what? there's no way to be predictive, right? So up here, look, smiling, happy guy. Watch how short our attention spans are. Look how happy. More than 300 points, 7th winning day. Well, down here, did we all forget? Weekly jobless claims. It's really bad. The highest since August. And yet, it still went up. But when I mention that maybe something predictive is involved, maybe banks were going to run prices higher no matter what, maybe they already knew about the unemployment report and decided to keep going, to trap traders on the high side, to trap more retail investors in calls. Maybe there's a nefarious plan in place. People go, nah, it's all random. And they leave the webinar sad. I wanted to talk to you about this concept in relation to two different things, signals versus setups. And by that, I mean the following. When we're looking at the times like these signals for gold, earlier this week, I gave traders as part of the trial, we gave traders rather, the signal times for gold. And you can see here, 725, 840, 1055. 725, 840, 1055. 725, 840, 1055. 615, 805, 935. 615, 805, 935. Would everyone agree that the signals on this chart match what was published 3 days ago? Is there anyone here who thinks there's any possibility that I manipulated the data in any way, shape, or form? Am I involved at this point? Or is it just a do or die review of what actually happened at those times? The latter, right? And so looking at the signals, the raw signals, we're sort of left with this uncomfortable result. 410 was expected to go down until when? 615. 615 was supposed to go up until 725. 725 was supposed to go down until 805. 805 was supposed to go up until when? 840. What happened in between 805 and 840 today? What happened in between 805 and 840 today? I'm going to let you think about that for 1 second. The aforementioned completely secret, it's in a manila envelope like the Best Actor Award at the Academy Awards. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. The worst result since August. That's what they want us to believe. And yet, a program that published the Times 3 days ago warned us the behavior pattern, the dirt paths in the grass, led from a buy signal to a sell signal at 840. And one could make the argument that this was a bull trap. And all of the people who got long here suddenly realized, like Wile E. Coyote floating over the edge of the cliff. Smile if you remember Wile E. Coyote. Wile E. Coyote, super genius. This is what the program warned us about. 8:05. Run, 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 run. 8:40. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Ah! And then look, they just come down and break through the stops over here. When does the Roadrunner go again? Well, the program warned us of another move from when? 9:35 until when? 10:55. And then down from 10:55 until when? 11:55 up until 12:45. All right, so that's the morning session. And if we take away any type of lagging indicator, I'm doing this purposefully a little over the top, a little dramatic to make a point, a very important point that a lot of people are uncomfortable with the exception of the 725 signal, right? That one's not exactly perfect. It kind of went up at 725. Mahalo. What's going on here? You're asking, there's a question right now from the group. Well, why does this happen? Why does this happen? And I asked a similar question a moment ago before you guys got here. Why did this happen? Show me someone who can explain why people do what they do. I haven't met them yet. I do know this. I do know that JP Morgan paid nearly $1 billion because they manipulated precious metals futures markets. JP Morgan entered into a DPA, a deferred prosecution agreement, which means they don't admit guilt or innocence. Did you know if you have enough money, you don't have to say guilty or not guilty? You just write a check. Wouldn't that be nice? My wife, she asked me the other day, she goes, did you put your duffel bag on the bed? Honey, I would like to invoke the deferred prosecution agreement. Here's $20. It doesn't work for you and me. For over 8 years, traders on JP Morgan's precious metals and treasuries desks engaged in separate schemes to defraud other market participants that involved thousands of instances of unlawful trading meant to enhance profits and avoid losses. So Mahalo, when you ask why would patterns over the last 3 weeks tie to or relate to something like the jobs report, that's the answer. To defraud market participants across thousands of trades as to protect profits and avoid losses. And when I show this over 15 years, over and over and over again, he keeps on falling in love with him over and over again. When I show this to people, their brains explode and they leave. And they say, where's the girl with the trend lines? She makes way more sense than this guy.
This guy's bananas. He's saying JP Morgan's planned this stuff out in advance. My sister has an account with JP Morgan. They're good guys, all of them. Okay. This is a signal. There's no setup associated with it. There's no rules for entries or exits. These are just raw times. Does everyone understand that? These are raw times meant to reinforce an idea that is completely lost on 90% of people. Because why? Because it's hard. Because you're making me think. Don't make me think, Mike. I want to be told by a guy with a British accent what to do in a live Discord. Don't make me think. The template that I'm using is the same for all the charts, Daniel. It's the same template with the same settings. I'll actually show you the settings right here. And I'll give you a screenshot of it, so you've got it. Let me pull it up. That's what she said. Let's come here. So I'm really passionate about this part of the webinar. And I show the gold because they're still cheating. They didn't stop. How much money are they making cheating that after $1 billion fine, they said, nah, we're going to keep doing it? And it wasn't just today. It was yesterday and last night, and they did it the night before that, and they did it the day before that, and they keep doing it. They keep buying and selling. And this signal was waiting 3 days before we got here. This signal was waiting 3 days before we got there. And if you're a customer, you know why I'm about to do this and what these lines represent. Holy cow. So they continue to manipulate gold, but this is a signal. It's not a setup. So you really have to, at this point, before we continue any further, you have to understand, or at least be willing to embrace this sort of idea of time, right? You kind of have to get that in your head. Am I willing to go down the road? Am I willing to consider this idea of timing in the market? Because it seems to be a concept that's lasted 100 years plus. That original article that I cited was written in 1909. And when they followed the Gann timing predictions, they said about half of the time here, Gann in one day, 16 signals, 8 of which turned out to be the top or bottom of the swing. And now here we are 100 plus years later in gold. What percentage of the time were the signals at the top or bottom of the swing? About half the time. So it's working. It hasn't stopped working. Now let's talk about a setup. What are some rules that we can deploy to trade this? Well, fortunately, I have a couple. Any questions about where we're at right now? Time works. It keeps working. But most traders avoid it because it's not flashy. Well, where's the green arrow? My last guru had a green arrow. I love the Facebook groups. If you ever want to have a great time, here. There's a great group. And this is where I don't watch comedy anymore. I come to Facebook groups.
I am providing daily 5 to 10 signals free of cost. Daniel, 97% accuracy. Karina Kumar would like you to know that you can have 5 to 10 signals free of cost. 90%. Oh, it's so good. Just say yes, and I will add you. Now, how many people do you think said yes down below? Look at them. Look at them. They're all over the place. If you need the PDF files of these books, say yes. Please. Yes. Give it to me. And week after week after week, I come here and I tell people gold is going to go up at 809 and it's going to go down at 840. And they're like, not going to follow that guy. What's the difference between the signal and the setup? Here's the difference. Difference is this. We want to apply rules to the setup. We want to apply specific rules to the setup. The first one that I ask you guys every week to entertain is called a signal with trend. It's raw. It's the most basic time signal, the one we started out with nearly 15 years ago. Thank you for that rant session, by the way. I try to talk to my wife about this stuff and she just rolls her eyes. She doesn't understand. How many of you have family and friends, people you talk to about trading who have no clue how weird this thing is? And they just sort of go, Anybody? You did what now? You overbought on the RSI, you say. Oh, okay. All right. Imagine living with me. The first thing is called a signal with trend, and we're going to look for moves in the direction of the trend. The trend is defined for this exercise by a 120 period moving average, exponential, EMA, Echo Michael Alpha. When the candle closes above the moving average, at the close of the candle, we enter. We exit at the next sell signal. These are windows in time that are opening up. Our stop is a dynamic stop, an elastic stop. 1.5 or 150% of the average true range. Average true range is a measurement. It's an indicator free in everybody's platforms. It tells you how big a bar on average is the last 3 minutes, the last 5 minutes, etc. Enter at 6:42, exit at 7:03, enter at 7:12, exit 7:27. Let's take a look at the signals with trend first and see where we end up. Again, in the indicator, I have the volatility stop set, as I always do, to 150% of the ATR, 1.5. It's a how big is a 3 minute bar right now? Add 50% more and put my stop there. Okay. So we're long from 8:33 until 9:09. Now, forgive me for not having the font set to a readable number. I am slowly becoming the old man who can't see anything. 3 points. The next signal with trend is at 10:09. The stop is 1.5 3-minute bars away. We enter on the close of the candle. We exit by 10:33, 4.75. So at this point in the morning, after the report, after the open, you're up $3, $5, almost $8. The next signal is long at 10:51, exiting by 11:09, 4.75. Now, guess what? There's a stop. Womp womp. You give back $5.50 of that. 12:39 is the next bus leaving the station, the next train coming out. Done by 106. 127, we enter on the close of the candle. We exit at the close of the next candle. We lose a tick. And then there's one more, 254 by 318. We lose 6 ticks. Finally, long at 345, out at 403. Now, this would be really weird, but for the fact that I gave out the times and the rules in advance. The same rules that I follow and teach every week. If you go to the page that has the predictive times on it, those were the rules. Any questions about what I just showed? When do I exit? At the close of the opposite signal. This is not the best system. This is not the best setup. There are no money management components in this, right? There's no get to break even after 3 ticks, or if it doesn't work in 3 bars, right? All of that stuff. This is the most basic system I could think to show you. There's a setup we can apply to it. We will be showing how the signals can be traded by using one of 2 simple entry rules called signal with trend. A max volatility 1.5 ATR stop will be used. So just for the record, I gave out the times in advance. I gave out the setup in advance that we could trade while the times were coming out. 3, 8, 13, call it 12, 16, 18, 16, 10, call it 10 points, roughly, or $500 per contract. Any questions about that? That's one day from 8:30 to the close. Let's look at yesterday. Okay. 8:33 until 9:03, $2.25. 9:36 is a stop out, -4. 10:03 to 11 o'clock, $10. So you're up $11 -4, $7 at that point, 350 by 11 o'clock. Long at 11:21, out by 11:39. Long at 12:03, and you finish a little lower, womp womp, by here. Points, dollars, points. Now here, the candle is below the moving average. It closes above the moving average. We call that a crossover. Our stop goes below the crossover candle, -$3. It closes above the moving average again right here, and you make another tick. There's another loss right here, -4, and then from 306 until 342, it's $5. So 2, 12, 13, 18, 19, 14, 11, 9, -4, 5, call it 4 points at the end of the day. Hard day yesterday. 4 points is $200 per contract. So $200 yesterday, $500 per day, using signal times that were 3 days old. Without a guru, again, the signals 7, 14, swing strength 8. Same signals I've been using every day for 15 years. Any questions about that? So similar to gold, same type of, did it do what we were expecting it to do after the fact? Now, here's what's really cool about times. I have the times for tomorrow right now. They don't change. They don't repaint. They don't disappear. They don't reappear. I have the times for gold right now. This is the schedule. This is it. Get a tattoo. They'll be the same times tomorrow when we get there. Come back to the ES 3-minute chart, and I've already got the times for tomorrow. They're already here. Well, why? Why would they do that? Why? Because they can. They can. It's the one thing you're not looking at, the one thing you don't believe they would do, even though they keep doing it. The one thing they keep doing. Right? I love these pictures. Well, why would they do that? That doesn't seem fair. But doesn't it explain what usually happens? The good news comes and the market goes down. The bad news comes and the market goes up. They hit your stop and they go straight to your target. This is a 60-minute chart on the E-mini S&P. If you were in my room this morning, what did I tell you the market was going to do when we started, before it opened? One of the customers asks me to look at higher time frames, and I have the recording, the analysis that said, using the 60-minute chart, we're going up until 7 o'clock tonight. We're going up. And we used a daily chart analysis as well to confirm. The daily says up, the 1 hour said up, the 5-minute we were looking for longs. We caught a pretty cool one at the end there too. All session we were looking for longs. Any questions about the predictive nature of markets and how time seems to be the pervasive missing link that many of you have been looking for? It's not exclusive to the indices. We can look at this on oil futures. Here's oil future signals today. Here's oil future signals yesterday. We looked at it on gold, right? This also was the mini Dow, right? A lot of you are trading with Apex accounts. You need $100, $200 times 10 times 20 accounts per day. There's $100 sitting on that chart right now. The other thing this applies to is crypto, right? If we look at what the signals did on Ethereum, on Bitcoin, let me see if I can find that real quick. Is this it? There's Ethereum. These were the signals for Ethereum today on a 5-minute chart. We gave out those times in advance. These are the times for Bitcoin on a 5-minute chart. But Bitcoin is random. Bitcoin is synthetic. Bitcoin is outside of the grasp of institutions. JP Morgan isn't involved in that. Why is it working? Hey, Steve, you okay, bud? There's my settings, man. I'll publish them again. 7/14 calendar, swing strength 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, 7/14/00, 8 calendar days. Those are my settings. And so we have the times for the future of Bitcoin. 5-minute, 60-minute, whatever you want to look at. We know the times coming up in the future. The only reason these future times exist is because they keep doing it over and over and over again. Here's Bitcoin on a daily chart. When's the next signal? Today. Okay. Any questions? Any questions about this? It's ultimately this question, isn't it? What is trading? Because if you're watching lagging averages, if you're watching lagging volume, lagging whatever, trend lines are lagging. All of it is lagging. You're watching something that's already happened, which is what banks want you to do. They want you to watch what already happened. Man, that's really bad news in the unemployment market. Oh my God, it's going up. How high can it go? Why is bad news so good? They're telling you in the future what they're going to do. And you don't believe them, some of you, most of you. This is what you wake up to every morning and you think, I'm going to do it. I'm going to use my next gen T3 software with my Fibonacci lines and my Renko bars. I bet you the guys at JP Morgan can't crack that code. I bought Vantage Point. I have a 1 and it's not a 0. My neural number today is 1. 1. What does that mean? There's a lot of calculations in my neural net today. They're laughing. These guys are laughing. Right? We built a machine, an incredibly powerful machine. Please realize, this is hard. There are over 12,000 lines of code in this indicator. 15 years to get to this point, this day. It's hard. I could open I could open a company tomorrow. Here's what I know about this industry. I could open a company tomorrow. Neil, if I wanted to make $1 million tomorrow, you already know what I would do. I would load an unusual, unorthodox bar, a Renko, a special kind of range, a tick. And then I would come in here and I would start loading it up. I'm going to put the ATR on there. Let's put I don't even know what a Chaikin oscillator is. We'll throw that on there. A Keltner channel. We'll use a moving average ribbon. A voodoo bar, right? And then I can take this one and throw it up there. Oh, even better. Even better. Right? This is $1 million company that I'm showing you right here. Got to have the RSI. Look at that. Right? You put that across. And then mysteriously, there'll be an arrow. And then there'll be another arrow. And this is my marketing snapshot. And I could go on Instagram, I could go on Facebook, and I can post this, get 100 leads tomorrow. All you got to do is sell here and buy here. Or you do the work, you roll up your sleeves, and you understand what the rules of the game really are. The rules of the game are this. I'm showing you what the rules of the game they play by are. Here are the rules. Earl says, yes, but you're not as pretty as the trend girl. That is true. I am not. I don't feel pretty. These are the rules of the game. They have a plan before they get to these times. They're telling us when the next times are. The times are etched in the grass. The only reason the software works is because of this. They leave a trail. Mahalo, it's etched into time. The only reason this path exists is because somebody's walking on it over and over and over again. Don't ask why. Why is a hard question. The only reason that path exists is because of a behavior pattern. The only reason these times exist are because of recent behavior patterns. When they arrive, give it a shot. Analyze your risk. Look for local support and resistance. Watch what your volume is telling you. Look, is it overbought or oversold? Look at the candle pattern. Which side is the wick bigger on? All of the stuff you normally do. Just do it at the times. You're going to trade less. You're going to hold on to winners longer. You're going to let go of losers faster. This is what the customers tell us. We have a team of people here to help you. In fact, there's a Skype group dedicated to helping each other. Earlier, a customer needed some help. Raja asked for some help. Mr. Hoffman posted his own templates and workspaces to help another customer out. There are people in here sharing their setups and their trades with each other. Over 200 customers in a Skype group every day. Mahalo, don't you own the software? You've asked like 13 I don't believe you questions that all stem from the word why. Do you own the program yet? I wanted to, you do. So why are you railing against it? I don't understand. I wanted to finish the webinar up, but you keep coming back and asking questions like, I don't understand why this works, but you already bought the software. So I'm sort of staring quizzically at the screen right now. Anyway, okay. So the question was asked, well, what happens to times? Well, these times change over time, right? So the way to think about that, right? Why aren't the times the same every day, every week? How does it interpret those? I mean, that's an honest question, right? Put my ego to the side a minute. The program is constantly reabsorbing new information and discarding old information, right? So Mahalo, in this case, it's looking at 2 weeks of data, right? So it's analyzing what happened last Thursday and the Thursday before that and projecting it forward into this Thursday. Does that make sense? So all of the data patterns that took place here and here were analyzed and projected into here. Now it's never 100%, right? It's always off. Well, this week, today is over. So now that today is over, we don't look at this day anymore. We're looking at the behavior patterns from here and today. And now we've already got the projections for next Thursday. So we're always discarding old behavior patterns and absorbing new behavior patterns. I just got back from the beach where we have a rental home, and there are sand dunes. And the sand dunes, Mahalo, are always moving, right? Sometimes the wind is blowing them this way, and other times they're changing. That's one of the best parts about the beach, especially where I go. You can drive on the beach with your truck. And so where it started out here, the dune migrates, or the dune migrates this way. Does that concept make sense? Nature is never static, it's dynamic. And so just to show you that I'm not even lying about that, all right, that's me. That's the face of a man who is ecstatic with joy. And again, looks like a bleached, in this case, a tomato and a kiwi had a baby and it landed on my neck. But I love the beach because it's always changing. Nature is always dynamic and in motion. And so in that sense, these signals are changing and moving. And the program is designed to intercept those minute shifts and warn us next week where they are. Is that a better answer to your question versus my heightened outrage? That you would dare question me in the peak of my delivery, winding it up, getting people to lay down their hard-earned cash? That's a good question. Somebody else was probably thinking it, by the way. Right? There are people waiting to share their experiences with you in the Skype group. If you're not a member of the Skype group, please email Rachel. She'll get you a link to join, and you can participate with other customers there. This is what I believe after 15 years. You win battles by knowing the enemy's timing and using a timing that they don't expect. JP Morgan does not expect you to follow in their footsteps. They don't expect you to believe a word I've said, even though I've shown you 2 days, 3 days after the gold times were published, what actually happened. Even though I gave you a trading system in the times 3 days before the market, $500 plus $200, $700 in 2 days per contract, just following a simple rule. So lots of questions here today. I'm going to cover the Omnia stuff tomorrow. I'm just sort of running out of time here. I know I said I was going to look at it. I think it's better for me to wait until tomorrow, so apologies for not getting to that. Thank you. Does it work on stocks? Steve, what stock? What do you want to look at? Of course it works on stocks. Tesla. My favorite one. Does it work on stocks? I love to hate that man. I love watching him take his foot and shove it in his mouth over and over and over again. What time frame do you trade Tesla, Steve? "15 minutes," he said. Yeah. So on the daily, interesting thing, just before we go to the 15 on Tesla, short from March 4th until March 8th. And then, Steve, we have what's known as a pattern 4 on the 18th of April. In your GoToWebinar guidebook, I didn't go over the patterns today, but I want you to see what a pattern 4 usually does on Tesla in the daily chart. This is right when Elon announced he had a big partnership arrangement with China and fired everybody. Fire everybody. Steve, we have lifetime updates as of now, so when the updates come out twice a year, you guys get those free of charge. We make about 2 updates a year as NinjaTrader makes updates. La la la. So here's Tesla on a 15-minute chart. And one thing I like to do is use the extended trading hours. So now you can sort of see those signals. And there's the times waiting for us in the future. Yeah, so it's lifetime updates. And man, we've been doing it for so long. I'm not going anywhere. My partner and I live 45 minutes apart, so if one of us is hit in a tragic car accident, the software survives. If both of us are killed in a balloon accident, our wives know to release the code open source. Darren, the problem with Omnia is if I share how it works, you know how it works, and then I can't take it back. That's part of my problem. You can talk to someone else who's got it. If you have a specific question, I can answer it. If there's a chart you want to see, I can show it to you. But I'd rather do it outside of this, right? This isn't an Omnia webinar. It's a Warp webinar. I sent you all those emails before the event and then the screenshots after. I took setups earlier today in it. Right? I left it running live in the pro room. It just works, man. Do I make anything that doesn't work? Pull up Palantir on a 5-minute. I traded it today. Chris, how much money did you make trading Palantir today? I don't know what settings you had. There's Palantir on a 5-minute chart. Just show the signal dots for now. One of our customers said he traded Palantir on a 5-minute chart today. Those are the settings with extended trading hours. You're welcome, Chris. So Steve, come on in, the water's fine. Darren, I can email you something with some screenshots after. No worries. No worries. So the program that we're talking about is called Warp. On our website, when you go to the product store, you're going to want to look at the Tachyon Warp program. This is the one that everybody starts with. There's a few other things involved here, but you have to start here. This is where 95% of people begin and stop. And that's okay. So to set up that program and get started and purchase it, you're going to click on that box, scroll down, and you'll see when you go to purchase, there's a pop-up, I run an advanced training room. And so I have a $200 daily goal that I try to demonstrate signals for. We look at the futures markets, we look at other markets, oil, we look at stocks, big picture stuff. The settings are the same as the ones we use on Thursday. The methods that I teach here, I show there live. And if that's something you want to add to your cart, I highly recommend it for at least a month or two to get your sea legs underneath you. So I'm teaching that class now. If you see that pop up, that's me, 9 to 11, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Most weeks I have a class tomorrow to make up for one that I missed on Wednesday. So join us there. Darren, I have to write you an email. Let me get that email address from you. Compose. I use Warp primarily in the classes, and Daniel, I also show force signals. And lately I've been showing Omnia charts when the class is over, from 11 to 12 to 1 to 2, depending on when I forget to shut the webinar off. So I show everything, really. Okay, Darren, he's an expert in it. It's just one of those things where it's hard to explain. Darren, let me give you a one thing to think about that I now know that I can use Omnia for. Can you see this daily chart with the lunar signals on it? Using the Omnia technique that I taught everybody back in April. This is called a rapid deceleration by dot, an RDBD. And the cycle has inverted. This is the key of that. The next signal is down. The next signal is up. And then this signal is up. I know looking at moon charts when the market will stop going up. 6 days and 0 hours from now, we are going higher using a technique that I taught about 50 people. Rapid deceleration by dot, reverse polarity, breakout, and we're going up until I see a signal that is a sell dot where we have 3 bull days in a row. I can do that on a moon chart now. We can do it on a 5-minute chart. And if I put it on a regular chart, and use the plugin that I teach about. We get signals that look like that. So this morning you would have been long from 9:50 to 1 o'clock, long from 1 o'clock until 3:50, long when it broke into the yellow box to the other side for $5. You would have been long when it broke into the yellow box and break even right here. So quarter, $20, 25 minus 3, about $20 per contract. Yep, so it's pretty cool. Anyway, lots of questions. You guys waited till the very end to ask completely unrelated questions about everything but the thing. It's cool. It's really cool. Darren, yeah. I gave a lot to learn that one. Yeah. Omnia translates to everything in Latin. It explains everything. So I love you guys. Thank you for the questions. Sorry, I did not eat the shark. That shark is called a hardhead. It is in the hammerhead family. It was a juvenile. They get much, much larger. If you want to see what they look like as they get bigger, that's kind of a bigger version of it. A bonnet head. And when I picked it up to show that picture, Earl, it whipped its tail and hit me in the shoulder, and my shoulder still hurts. Like it messed up my shoulder. Yep. That was kind of cool, though. That's about the size they get, I guess. Yep. That's about as big. Mine was a little bigger than that. But it hurt, man. He was not happy. And I did not stick my fingers in that hole. Almost as bad as falling off a stool with wheels. Yes. I actually brought 2 chairs home from the beach house that are permanently in there, as well as a fold-out chair. I still feel horrible about that. I feel almost as bad as I did when you first fell over. And that was pretty bad. Any other questions? We were sort of all over the place at the end there. I feel like I went down too many rabbit trails for some of you. Mr. Fox, did that make sense? Steve, it's going to work on stocks. It's going to work for options. Dave's probably reaching out to you right now. A lot of customers trade calls and puts intraday on SPY, Tesla, QQQs. What else is a big one? Microsoft. For a while, that one was fun with the calls. One of our guys that you probably want to connect with when you come over, his name is Brian. I think Brian had a post in here the other day. He made $26,000 in a call. Brian Phillips. When you come in here to connect with Brian, he's going to be a good guy for you. To connect with. Come on now. Yeah, there's one post in here where he's got a $26,000 trade in SPY using calls. It's pretty cool. So remind me if you can't find it when you get in there, I'll introduce you guys and connect you to. He's a pretty cool guy. Are you in here, Brian? I don't think so. No, and Dave's also trading options with this too. He can answer a lot of your questions. Anybody else use this with options that are in here and stocks? There's quite a few of you. I just forget who's who. I'm like the grandma now who calls the grandkids by their different names. Johnny, Susan, Billy, Frankie. You're all names to me now that just blur together. Listen, yeah, a bunch of people using Omnia for options as well. Like I said, we have that class tomorrow. And so we come in here and we put that reversal signal on there. That'll give you some sense of what to watch for. Where is that? There it is. So Jason, a bunch of people using, this is Palantir on the 5-minute chart. Give you some sense of, it's pretty clean, right? It's really clean. That's what it takes a lot of the decisions and builds it into the code as opposed to that, you know, this, that. Anyway, I love you all. Thank you for enduring my insanity, for coming and listening to me. I don't make it easy sometimes to follow along, but I hope you believe that I'm telling the truth. If not, go read the Trustpilot reviews. Those are real people with real accounts and real credit card receipts, every single one of them. They live somewhere and they have an office just like you, and they have a version of this program, and when they could write anything they wanted to, there's a couple zingers in there. There's 1 or 2 1-stars. Alberto, you know who you are. Listen to what their experiences were and what they went through to get where they are and how life changed when they started using these time signals. It's really cool to see how consistent those experiences were. If you get an email or a Skype from a guy named David or Drew, they are with us. They are part of this company. They are people using the software themselves to trade. They're probably the best people to talk to, as they're not gurus. They're traders using programs that are working with other traders considering the program. So if they reach out to you, email or phone, please respond or reply, hear them out. They're gracious enough to share their time with other customers and are a valuable resource. Customers tomorrow, live training class, 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock, and then 11 o'clock to 12:30. We'll be looking at the Omnia signals as well. So if you're considering that, please sign up tonight. Rachel's going to send out the last invitation tomorrow morning before the event, and then we're going to do an intensive review with live signals going forward after that. So thank you for that. May the wind be at your back. May the sun shine on your face. May the valley rise up to meet you. May the mountains lay low before you. I am for you. I am on your side. I am telling the truth. I believe in you. You are exactly where you need to be right now. If you are at this webinar, there is an answer to the question, how can I be a better trader? One transaction away. I've taken away every possible excuse. I've shown you everything, nothing withheld, nothing held back. I've removed myself completely from the process so you can see without discretion what results were using times published 3 days ago, using testimonials over the last 15 years. Please, the universe is knocking, answer the door, move forward through it so we can start the journey of a lifetime together. If not, thank you for coming and checking us out. I appreciate you hanging out in our house for a while, and I do wish you all the best. Take care, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great afternoon.